Right, evening guys.
Hang on,
We're slowly getting settled in. Well, you said we're live, so I'm going.
We're live on there. Let's go.
Right, evening. Welcome back. Don't know where you are or which part of the world are, but we're having some lovely weather here in the UK at the moment. So I hope everyone's getting out and enjoying that.
I need to get a tan. Look how pale my legs are on that screen.
Well, you've been travelling. I'm covered up, so I'm hiding. We were talking earlier, and the whole idea with the Unplugged series is an extension, really, of our chit chat. And we always pride ourselves that we unplugged. We hook up literally just before we're going to start and think, well, what are we going to talk about? And we were talking about just really the observation that you had made earlier I think during the week or so, as far as not so much the cosmetic industry, but the use of cosmetic, either creams or the use of lotions,
medications as well.
Yeah, as covering up what can be situations or conditions or aspects of our health, which with the skin is really the indicator of that. So shall we expand? That's quite a wide range and a bit of a gargled message. But where were you coming from when we were talking earlier?
There's a lot of, dare I say, hype over cosmetics at the moment, especially here in the UK, and it's over improving your skin, and there's no doubt they do help improve your skin.
Yeah.
But cosmetics for skin, different hair products to help with your scalp, things that are going to help with eczema and other things like that, which are great. They do help these things, but it's fighting the underlying cause.
Yeah, I look at it two things. I think there's beauty products,
Yep.
and then there's potions and lotions.
We're not going to put a show on beauty products because we're not the most
good
beautiful
models.
individuals here.
For me, I think it's important to look at what you're trying to use a product for.
Yeah.
When it comes to the skin, I think we've got to really identify that the skin is the biggest organ in the body, and its main role is not only to protect us from our environment. In fact, it is also quite absorbent, and that's what a lot of the creams all do. They're trying to absorb ingredients. But it is actually also has a huge role in clearing and excreting toxin. The classic example is chickenpox. Mm-hmm. You have a virus. A virus is then the immune system kicks in. We feel rubbish, and eventually we get the pox. And the little vesicles is the body's trying to clear out that virus, and that's why we're contagious for a certain period of time, and then they dry up. When we actually we're not really treating the virus, and we're not treating chickenpox when we're putting chamomile lotion on. We're just trying to treat and alleviate the symptom of the itch. So when we're putting creams and lotions on the skin, are we really treating the condition which is causing that, or are we just really trying to treat the symptom? So from a functional perspective, I think we've got to be clear of are we looking at the cause, or are we looking at the symptom?
What has caused that skin to flare up, or to go rashy, to go blotchy, to go really dry? What is going on in the body, in the gut? There's a analogy that I used, and I think I've recorded a couple of videos on an ice cube, and we talk about how if you had a bowl of water, a saucepan of water, and you bring it to the boil, it's half full. To cool it down, you can either put ice cubes in, or what is going to happen if you put an ice cube? It's going to keep boiling up. And what happens eventually when you put more ice cubes in, it's going to just overflow. Or you can take it off the heat. Yeah. Because the root cause of why that is boiling is the heat underneath.
Or eventually, if you put the ice cube in, the temperature of the water will initially drop, so you will stop boiling,
back up again.
But it'll come straight back.
Yeah. So
and I think that's what a lot of people are doing when it comes to some of the creams and looking at the skin. So as long as I take that, regularly use that cream, then the itch goes away. A classic is like athlete's foot. Mm-hmm. Dandruff is a classic one. A lot of people don't associate that some of dandruff's underlying issues start in the gut. You've also got, mentioned, you've got candida outbreaks, you've got eczema. Eczema is a great one because a lot of people say, well, it's always when there's stress. But stress only amplifies. Stress is just like taking the analogy and then just cranking up the heat even more. It just happens quicker. So what's going on, and looking at the why, from a functional perspective, whenever the body is not functioning and it's giving symptoms, one of the first points of contact with that approach of healthcare is the gut. It's huge.
And one of the ways that I would look at, if someone has an issue with this, and by all means the cosmetic industry is a multi-billion pound industry,
Yeah.
and this is not to say that there's not a place for it, there's a massive place for it, but it's knowing that, is it for vanity reasons, or are you taking something for health? And if it's for health reasons, then what is the underlying reason you've got that health problem? Now with the gut, all our nutrients are digested there, and you've got so much serotonin produced there as well. It's kind of like, we need to get that digestion right.
Yeah.
What other signs, because it's not just going to be the skin that people are looking out for, that are saying, hang on, I've got a bit of a gut issue here. What other signs can people look out for?
So from a symptom perspective,
Yeah.
from a gut, as a gut, I mean, the main thing is looking at the gut. The gut has a function. So how's the gut working? You know, is there a change in bowel habit? Do you get constipation, diarrhea, bloating? Is there, soon after eating, do we have, and the classic is bloating, because of how the gut bacteria break down what you're eating. What is it? What are we eating? How's our energy levels? How are other things relating to the gut? And also, you know, something like if someone's got an underlying celiac issue, very quickly after they eat, they realize that those symptoms, the itchiness in the skin or whatever, get worse. Their mood might change. So it's looking for that connection and identifying, because a lot of people tend to think of the gut as just you eat and then you might have a sore stomach ache or not. That's as far as people think of the gut.
One of the symptoms that jumped out, we were talking about this beforehand, is after having dairy. A lot of the times people will have symptoms of a cold for like the next hour or two, like bunged up nose, or they'll have a reflux sort of feeling and they'll be going It's nothing more annoying when you're in the cinema when that happens. That was in the Avengers the other day.
To bore people with a bit of the science behind it, is that what you've got is you've got an immune response to what you're eating. So the lining of the gut has got it's always interacting and registering what food's been processed. And so your first line of defense, if you look at your immune system as a defense, the first line of defense is immunoglobulin A, so IgA. And IgA is what produces, its main response is to produce a mucal lining. And that's prevalent in the gut, but also in the mucus lining. So it's why when some people react to dairy, a lot of people say, well, dairy is mucus forming. It's only mucus forming in the body if it creates an immune response, because the first line of response is that. So a lot of people say, well, I get congested. But if it's in the gut, then some people are going to pick up other symptoms. But that's a basic first line of immune response. So if you're aware of that response, if I eat something and I know that I get a response, it's a sure sign that straight away your body is not working. The next line of defense that is immunoglobulin G, which is like your intolerances. That's when your IgG comes in. That's the ones where you say, I'm intolerant, I eat that and I get a rash. Because that's your immune system at a deeper level saying, I'm now getting into the blood system, and the system is saying, I've now got to expel it. So the body is now trying to, like that analogy with the chicken box, it's now trying to expel that toxin. But then because it's irritant, we then slap a cream on top of it to cool it down.
But we still have that
but it's
flame
still
to the
trying
fire.
the flame is still underneath in the gut. So we get some temporary relief because we don't like the itch or so, or we have the hydrocortisone cream. That's stamping out the fire, and that may well be very important at that time. But if it keeps repeating, you're not addressing the underlying cause. So number one cause, if there's a regular skin condition which keeps coming back, and you're going back to the medical profession, and it keeps repeating, you're not getting on top of the cause. You are treating the symptom and getting the relief, but you haven't delved deeper. And unfortunately, a lot of medics aren't trained or have the time or they don't have the protocols in place to stop and say, tell me about your diet, and looking at the inflammatory diet. How are we inflaming? And sometimes that's just food choices or overall diet. It doesn't have to be that you have an immune response to, you're not celiac, or you can't tolerate certain grains. It can be just generally your diet is your gut is battling processed foods, high sugar foods. It's just not thriving. So it's allowing a lot of all these proteins and things coming into the immune system, into the blood. So look at headaches, lethargy, skin. Skin is a classic example. One of the other key things you mentioned that is knocking on is nails. Mm-hmm. I had noticed that I had a little ridge in my nail, and I was looking and going, I remember collagen reading something about it, and it's Bose lines, which is relating to either zinc.
Yep.
But I'm pretty good with zinc and that. And then what I didn't realise, and I've forgotten, was a significant health or high fever or health challenge. And in January I went down with flu, and look back in the nail growth, and it's like that's around that time frame, the number. So the body gives some great indicators about your health status. Yeah. We're just not listening to them.
I think what can be frustrating to some people is that they say nothing's changed in my diet when this flare-up comes up. However, it could be that your body was just fighting it. It's had that reaction. It's just not shown its really its ugly head that quickly. But stress levels have changed. Yeah. There's been some pile up of stress at work, or some relationship stress, or there's lower sleep. There's less. Look at the change of seasons. Yeah. It wanted to go summer a few weeks back, and then it decided, screw that, I'm going to go back to winter. But hydration levels go up and down, and all these different things throw stress into the body.
Your diet is actually never consistent.
No.
Because the foodstuffs that we buy are different, come from different seasons,
even the different
parts. Yeah, even from different parts of the world. But I think there's really either that it's very seldom that you suddenly become exposed. There's either a build-up of toxicity and then it reaches a threshold, mm-hmm. or your body has been able to manage that threshold, under that threshold. So it's smouldering, and then someone's poured petrol over that fire and it's gone woof.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's just come from nowhere, but it's actually probably always been there. When we speak to a lot of people about things, there's a track record. It's like in the arthritis aspect of things, from a structural, good old osteoarthritis, wear and tear kind of arthritis, it very seldom comes from nowhere. There's usually a track record. My digestive, it's never been great, or sleep patterns, or I've suffered from headaches, or there's usually a track record. It's very seldom, because these are usually chronic issues. Mm-hmm. Eczema, psoriasis, athlete's foot, dandruff. These are chronic things. They don't just suddenly happen. If they do suddenly happen, then it's definitely from a one-off big trigger, and stress is usually a big one.
And you can get other signs as well, where, like bags under the eyes, the liver functioning is great, and all that sort of thing, where the body does tell us what is going on internally from showing up externally.
Yeah, and I think what also has happened a lot in with healthcare, I think we've become guilty of not really understanding those indicators. We really are getting caught up into the what. So what's bothering you? And they go, well, I'm not sleeping well. Okay, so we need to get you to sleep better, rather than saying why. So some of the things, the Ayurvedic medicine guys are brilliant with that, because they look into the eye, they look at the tongue, they do a full, and you taught that in college. Doing a full assessment is not just sitting over the table and saying, so what's going on? Okay, let's try this. Yeah, looking at the nails, looking at the tongue color, eyes, inside the eye, as you said, the bags, the quality of the hair. I mean, not so much hair analysis, but just quality of hair, skin. Skin loses color, it becomes, it loses its vibrancy when people are either dehydrated or so. I think we need to reconnect with that.
I think also there's a massive frustration in society today, is that if you take a medication, it's kind of making you feel like you're better. It's not to say the medication is bad, but it makes you feel like you're better. So you don't then switch the diet because the external is better. And these things, the gut health didn't get that way overnight. It is not going to fix its actual self overnight, and it takes commitment to do that.
And the gut lining, when you damage the gut lining and then you correct your diet. So you're now not damaging the gut. But that can take quite easily 3 to 4 months. So through that time, you're not suddenly getting instant success, but steadily you're getting better. And so a lot of people, it's very hard to suddenly go, I'm committing to something which is over 3 or 4 months to allow healing time. Whilst you still got to eat, you still got to put food into that, which potentially is going to irritate.
Birthdays, there's Christmas, there's Easter, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong, it is hard because some severe cases, even one big slip up can set you back.
Yeah, I first came aware more with celiacs and how that becomes a number of years ago through a chiropractor. And she was explaining, and we were in a conference, and we're sitting there, we're having a meal, and she brought out her own food. And I'm like, half the cool thing of being away in a conference and being in a hotel is that, you know, you've got choices of different food. What do I feel like eating? And she said, I don't eat. And this was the days where things weren't very hot on you going and saying, I'm looking for gluten-free. So she just brought her own food. She says, I'm so sensitive that if I eat some gluten, and so this is celiac, this isn't just the fad of I've got a bit of a gluten thing. She says, if I eat that, I am ill for at least 2 or 3 days. You know, diarrhea, stomach pains, I have headaches, and I potentially can't get to work. I'm so sensitive to it. But more importantly, I'm not right for a couple of months, and that's from just one meal. So she just can't risk that.
Exactly
that's a different immune response, but that's how sensitive the gut can be to repair. It takes a long time to repair.
When I was diagnosed celiac, 2013, I probably could have fixed it in under 3 years, but because it took that strictness of not slipping up once, I slipped up, and that was going through that stressful period when I worked in the corporate world, and like you were treating me then, and I was having chiropractic, so I had some underlying things which were solid there. But if I slipped up on the diet, and I think it was October, November, so it went through Christmas, then there was Easter, then my birthday, and all these sorts of things, and you just want to have something. And it took probably a good solid 18 months of being 100%, which was horrible considering I'd had the eating disorder in the past of being 100% all the time for bodybuilding for a different reason, not for health but for aesthetics. Mentally it was hard because it kept pushing me back to that place where I was then. But after that, like now, it takes a big slip up, #New York, to push my health back a little bit. Like migraine gate, we'll do a show on migraines, but it takes a big slip up of 2-3 days of eating a lot of rubbish to push me back as far as that.
Yeah.
But you can fix the gut. I think that is what I want to get at from there.
Yeah, you can fix the gut, and I think when it certainly looks at something like celiacs, and then I think there's a lot more resources now. There's no actually better time in history to be celiac because there's so much more gluten-free options. But not all gluten-free options are healthier options.
No.
They're just gluten-free.
Just because they say gluten-free.
Doesn't mean they're a healthier option. But also there's a lot more resource. The internet is brilliant because there's a lot of information. There's misinformation out there as well, but there's a lot of information out there. But the big take-home message for me, I think, is when we started off talking about the skin, but when the body itself, but particularly the skin, changes its function, changes its expression of health, it's not necessarily a skin condition.
No.
The skin has other functions. From a functional, overall, holistic approach to health, the number one place we start is the gut, because it's the biggest influence. And if you're trying to heal, even if it's not a gut issue, if the gut is not working well, you greatly change your healing potential. So you always start with the gut. So number one message, look at the gut. Be aware that if you are taking something on a skin, a potion, lotion, and it gives you relief, great. It's relief, but it might only be giving you symptom relief, not treating the cause. Mm-hmm. So it's still worth pursuing. If it repeats, why does it keep repeating, rather than all I need to do is just take the same potion, lotion. And that doesn't matter whether it's heavily medicalized, hydrocortisone cream, or a homemade natural product. It's still the same process. You still are treating the symptom and not really taking the time and then investigation into your lifestyle and your diet potentially and how you're managing stress, because that's where you're going to probably find the cause.
Yeah.
Modern day life.
Cool.
Right?
Hopefully you've got something from that. I think the underlying thing, as we've said, is to look not just on the surface, but is there something else you can do? And if there is, don't expect as instant results as you would get with the medication, because it will take a little bit longer. And there's nothing wrong if you are having cream because you don't want that pain that you may be in with that, or the headache, having the paracetamol, whilst you are actually fixing the underlying cause.
Yeah, most definitely. Right, have a great week. We'll catch up with you soon.
Take care.
See you then.
Bye bye.